Hello everyone. Today I'm going to talk about installation of Consul in both server and client mode. Uh, I'm going to do this in different VMs. I'm going to set up 4 VMs. In the first VM, I'm going to install Consul as server. Then in the rest of the 3 VMs, I'm going to run Consul as client. Let's first start. um, The instruction for running Consul you can find in this page. Not necessarily in this page, you can also find in the official page of Consul. This project I created for different purpose, but you can find the in instruction for installation of Consul in this page. I'm going to put the link in the video. So let me first install Consul in the first VM. To install, you need to first navigate to this directory, which I am already in the directory. So now I'm going to download this file. Okay, after the download you will need to unzip. If you don't have unzip, you will also need to install the application unzip, and then you unzip it, and then you can remove the zip file. So I think I already have unzip application, so I can simply unzip the zip file I just downloaded. I already have Consul, so I'm just going to replace it. You will need to do the same in rest of all the 3 VMs, which I have already done. So Consul is already present in all of the VMs, so I don't need to install in all of them. I just need to install in the first one. So we can remove the zip file after this. Okay, so now I have installed the Consul. Now to run the Consul as server, we need to have this configuration file which will configure our server. I'm sure I have this file in my local computer. Let me check. Vim Consul config server and config.json. So this is the same configuration from here. The only thing missing is this. When I created this page, I was using an external directory to see the UI, but the version of Consul 1.5 itself has UI built in, so you don't need to include this configuration in the configuration file. The bootstrap mode is used with a server that sets up the server itself. The server mode has to be true for the server, and the log label is you can put as appropriate. Enable syslog, you can turn this off as well, and rest of the data centers for whichever data you want to use. The master token is for accessing the ACLs in the UI, and rest of the configuration names should be obvious. So now I have the configuration file. Now you will also need a Consul data. This data directory is the directory where the Consul is going to save information like which services are currently registered and key values as well. So you will need to create this directory, and then whichever directory you are pointing in the configuration, you will need to create that directory. And finally, to run the Consul as server, you can use this command. So I'm going to run this command here. Consul agent configuration directory, you need to point to the directory where your configuration is, and dash UI, as I told you earlier, you need to provide this flag if you want to see the UI. Let me run this. Okay, so the console server is now running. You can verify. Actually, I want to run. I'm going to stop this, and I want to run this. Oh, actually, this I'm already in a Tmux session. Let me run it again. I just wanted to run in the Tmux session so that I could run other commands in the same VM. Okay, so now the console server is running. We can verify the running of the server by opening the UI. This is the public IP of the VM where the console server is running, and it runs in the port 8500. So if I enter this, you should be able to see the UI of the console server. Okay, initially you were supposed to see only the console. This storage service is a dummy service which I had registered for some experimentation. You can ignore this, and this is actually coming from this directory because the information is saved in this directory. That service is not running, so you can just ignore this. And also I need to tell you something. This bind address needs to be the private IP of the host where you are running the console server. This IP is something for the communication between all the console nodes. Like right now we are running only one console node in the server. Later on we are going to run the console client, in which case they will have to communicate with each other using the bind address. You can also see the members of the console. Let me open another Tmux session. Okay, I don't have uh, okay, I'm in a new session. If I do console members, you should be able to see how many members you have in your console. This console server is the one which you just ran, and this one is also a dummy which I had run some in some VM. You can also ignore this. Now let me try to run console client in another VM. For this also you will need to install the console first. I have already installed the console in this VM. So now I'm going to run the console as client. To run the client, you will also need to provide the console data, and then you will need to run this command. You can also see the bind IP here. The bind IP is same as the one we provided in the server, but it has to be the IP of the host where we are going to run the client, and the join is the has to be the IP of the console server. We will have to modify this. Let me paste it here first. So the join IP will be the IP of the console server, which is this. So let me modify this. So 172.13.31.13 and then 190, and the bind IP of this host is 9.171. Now if I run this, it will run the console client and join with this one. As you can see, the client has already joined here. And now if you check the UI, you will be able to see two nodes here, this and this is the recently, this is the one which we, the client which we just joined. This is the dummy one, you can ignore for this, for now. Now let me run another client here. Oh, I'm sorry, I will need to copy the command again. I have already installed Consul in this VM as well, so I can just run it. The IP of the server is, let me check, what command did I give here. Okay, let me check the IP of the server again. You will be able to see it. This is 13.190 and the bind IP for this VM is 12.199. Now if I switch here to the console, and when I keep this command to join, you will be able to see the updated client here. And now if you check here again, you will again see new node. Here it is, 31.12.199, and it is failing because I am guessing a service is running through this node before. You can again ignore that. Now let me run a fourth client, oh I mean third client. Update the server IP, which is 13.90, I guess. Let me verify. Yes, 13.90. And the bind IP for this VM is 31.0.94. Oh, you know what? That node might already be running the, yeah, this is the VM which was already running the console. So if I try to run console here, I guess it is going to fail. Yeah, this is failing because this VM is already running a console client. Okay, anyway, if I have to run it again, you will have to kill the console client which was previously running and then run it again, and it is going to be the same, so I'm not going to do that. So now now you see, let me go to the uh, console of the console server. Now if you check the console members, you should be able to see 4 members. One is the console server and rest of the 3 are running in the client mode. So we have successfully created a mess of 4 VMs where one of the VM is running console server and rest of the 3 are running console client. And you can see here the logs. The request failed for the health check user service. These are actually because of this. And as I told you earlier, I had run console client in these VMs before and registered some services, and those services are no longer running. That is why the checks are failing. I can actually remove those services. Let me check the ID of this service first. Before I do this, I want to tell that now since our consul agents are running. Now we can register our services in the in those consul agents. Before I do that, I want to remove those dummy services. Now if I send because the user service was running in this node, I'm going to run this command, which will send a deregistration command to that node in a local host. So, and the service has to be the ID of this service. Let me do that. User service 31. 31.12.199. Okay, now we have removed this service. Now if I go here, this will no longer appear. Look, now I'm also going to deregister this storage service. For that I will need the ID of the storage service, and since this storage service is running in this VM, I will need to run the same deregister request here. 72.31.0.94. Okay, this service is also now deregistered, and you can see only the console service is registered here, and you can see all the four nodes, and these all the four nodes are now passing because no services are running. Now let me try registering some services in these nodes. And to register the services, we need to send the request to the console agent using this command. In practice, when we run our real service, it will be likely that you will be registering your service to the console agent using some API. Since this is just a demonstration, I'm going to manually register some dummy services which are not actually running. I'm just sending some dummy information. So the URL to register is this, and we need to pass some information about the service, which will be this: name of the service, ID of the service. ID of the service has to be unique. Name of the service can be uh, does not need to be unique because multiple instances of same service will have the same service name. And this is the port, which is the port where your service is going to run. And check is something that console agent will use to verify that your service is actually healthy and reachable. So let me try running this command. I will try to run the first service in first client. Let me open a different debug session. Okay, I'm going to register service 1 with my service name, and the check is localhost.5001/health. Because this service is not running, you can expect that the health check is going to fail. Let's see this. You can see my service is registered, but the health check is failing. This is because the console agent cannot verify the service by running the URL localhost on the port 501/health, and this is because the service is not running at all. We can fix this by giving some other URL which are going to pass, like www.google.com. This URL is reachable by the consul agent. So if we give that, our service is going to pass. But that will not be in the real case when you deploy the real service. When you deploy real service, you will be giving the URL to your own service. But for this, let let us fix that. https www.google.com. Now if we run this command, it is going to register another service with the service name itself and ID as well. But since we have already given this ID, it might replace. So I'm going to give new ID here. Okay, we have registered new service, and if we check here, okay, now the service came under this because my service name is still my service, and the ID of the service is service2, and the health check is now passing. And since we register the service in the first VM, you can see the service is the service is seen under this node. Now let me try registering some more service in another client. We need remember we need to give unique service ID, otherwise it is going to override the previous. My service, let me give 3 as well. Okay, my service tree is registered and it is passing because it is also checking at google.com. And if you check the nodes, you must be able to see that service is running in this port. Yeah, service tree is running in this node. Now let me run another service in this VM. Again, we will need to update the service ID. If you want, you can keep the same service name. Now you can see the number of services has increased in MyService. So service 4 is also running under MyService name and they are passing. So this is the request that you need to send to register a service, and this is the request that you will be sending to deregister a service, which I did few minutes back. Now let me try to deregister this failing service. To deregister this failing service, I will need the ID of that service, which is service1. Now since the service is running in this node, I'm going to send the request in the same node, and the last one has to be the ID of the service, and the service which we are trying to remove is service1. So let me try that. Okay, I already registered, and if we check it now, the service is gone. And if we check the nodes, now all the nodes are healthy, and with all the services are reachable and healthy. So this is how you run Consul server and Consul client. Consul server is normally run in separate VM, and for the sake of high availability, you need to run 3 to 5 servers which will communicate with each other. And whenever you deploy a new service, in each of the node where you run a service, you need to install a Consul client and communicate with that. Actually, it is also possible to communicate for a service to directly communicate with the console server, but that is not the recommended way. It is recommended to install a console client and then have your service communicate with that client agent. Client Console's client is a very lightweight thread, so it does not harm your resource. So I hope that will help you to create a service mesh using console. Thank you.